Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Good evening, dear friends. Hello and welcome. Happy to see you all and to be here with you. Hello, John DeRosa. Nice to see you. So welcome. This is the 6 p.m. Sunday prayer program. My name is Teresa Castro, and I host the Sunday evening 6 p.m. prayer program, which happens every day of the week at 6 p.m. by different hosts. And I'm sure most of you have dialed in and participated. So, as usual, we usually do a little message before the prayer, and today the message is on reincarnation. And we first take a look at the Spirit's book, which is in chapter 4, and it's item 167 to 170. And Kardec asks the Spirit some questions about reincarnation. And one of the questions is, what is the purpose of reincarnation? And the Spirits tell us that it is for expiation, which is the suffering. It's the suffering part of when we are regenerating ourselves, when we are repairing our wrongs. So it's that peace, the expiation. It's also Reincarnation is also another of its purposes is humankind's progressive improvement. So another purpose of reincarnation is to help humankind progress. It also confirms the law of justice, which that God is just. And we find in the Spirit's book as well, item 875, they define justice as simply respecting the rights of every person. So we can see if there were no reincarnation, then there would not be justice God would not be just, because we would be created simple and ignorant, with no opportunity to progress. And also, we are all created simple and ignorant. Therefore, God is not impartial. So it's not like some of us get more opportunities to reincarnate than others. We all get the same opportunities. And what reincarnation, hi, Abby Shear. Thank you for signing in. So nice to see you. And I am glad it is a perfect time for you. So we are talking about reincarnation before we have our prayer, and finding out that the Spirits tell us there is a purpose for reincarnation. It follows the law of justice. So it's part of the law. And it's also an opportunity for us to purify ourselves during our corporeal life. So it's not that we are reincarnated to improve our bodies or ourselves on the earth, but as we purify ourselves during our lifely experience, we transform our spirit. Our spirit purifies. Hello, Veronica. Thank you for being here this evening. So glad to see you. And he says that the number of lives needed to purify the spirit is not the same for all spirits. And that's not because God limits that, but it's because it's up to us to how quickly we advance. So some spirits are going to advance faster than others based on how they apply their free will and their choices. But this is not limited by God or by any law. So we put the limit on our incarnations. And the Spirit's book tell us, so what happens after that final incarnation, or we're totally pure? Then we become pure spirits, or they also call it a blessed spirit. So that's very beautiful. Then we also look at reincarnation from the gospel according to Spiritism. And ironically enough, nothing's by chance, it is also in chapter 4. And that chapter is titled, No One Can See the Kingdom of God Unless He's Born Again. So in the gospel, we see that Jesus also spoke about reincarnation. And there's a couple different references that Kardec makes mention of in the gospel. The two that I'm going to talk about here is the first one where he is talking with his disciples, and they say, why do they say that Elijah has to come back to reestablish things? And Jesus explains that, Elijah did come back and they didn't recognize him. And again, he will suffer. And so this is alluding to the fact that Elijah, or John the Baptist, is the reincarnation of Elijah. And the apostles understood this when Jesus said that to them. The other thing is when Jesus had a conversation with Nicodemus, and he says to him, no one can see the kingdom of God unless he is born again of water and spirit. And Nicodemus didn't understand this. He thought literally, because the Jews did understand at that time reincarnation, but they called it resurrection. And they didn't understand it the way that we do today. They understood it to mean that the whole body, like the person, that the body reincarnated, that you came back as the same person. Instead, how we understand it's a new incarnation each time. So they didn't understand its relationship with cause and effect or the law of affinity or any of that. So Jesus explains to Nicodemus, I should say first, Kardec explains to us the idea of Jesus saying water and spirit, because at that time in the Old Testament, they saw the world, the formation of the world, the land came from the water. So water was viewed as material, and the spirit is alluding to the intelligent principle, the essence, the spirit. And so that's why, Nicodemus couldn't understand that, because he was thinking of resurrection. He didn't understand. He actually thought someone being, inside their mother's womb again, an old person. And so, Jesus says to him, how can I talk to you about things of the spirit if you do not even understand or accept things of the earth, the material? So we see there that Jesus is talking about reincarnation. But they didn't understand. So, Jesus was talking to Nicodemus. That's why Jesus spoke in parables, because many of the people would not understand that. And so he was speaking to Nicodemus because he was a learned priest, a high priest who had studied. And Jesus anticipated he would understand that. But we can see it was even difficult for him to grasp. So we then go to Léon Denis in the book After Death, and he speaks of reincarnation. I think you can see this book. And again, he tells us that reincarnation is governed by laws. It's not happening by chance, that it's actually governed by the law of justice and of harmony and attraction. So that's why we see like spirits meeting up again, forming homogeneous families where a like attracts like, what, right? So that's the reason we reincarnate time and time again with the same spirits, because we still have things we need to learn and experience, expiate, repair. And so we can see that, in essence, reincarnation is an opportunity. It's a blessing. But what's interesting with Léon Denis is he tells us the mechanism of reincarnation. He actually spells out for us the process of what actually the spirit experiences. And he says, first off, when a spirit is in the spirit realm, it has this it has kind of an intuition that it's going to reincarnate. It's very interesting because don't many of us have that intuition when our life is coming to an end, or kind of have a sixth sense about that we're going to die. Many people experience this. And so anyway, the spirit will have he says, it will feel this irresistible force, this mysterious affinity towards an environment that suits it. So it's being drawn to this area of where it will be best suited for it to evolve or progress. And he says that the spirit feels a lot of anguish. He says that this anguish is more terrible than what the spirit experiences as it discarnates. And so he says that it is more painful to be born, to incarnate, than to die, than to discarnate. So that's very interesting. So we can be grateful that here we are, we have incarnated, we have survived that. Sounds like a terrible experience of coming into the material realm, being born. But he says that because incarnation, when we incarnate, we are sacrificing the free life. There's a reduction of the self, of the spirit, and there's a transition from open space to dark confinement, a descent into the abyss of blood, mud, and misery. Hello, Hinaldo. Thank you for signing in. Nice to have you here with us. So we can see this incarnation is a restriction, okay? And when we discarnate, the spirit is being liberated. There's liberation from the body, and we are entering into a freer life. So this is why he says it is actually more painful for a spirit to be born than to die, than to discarnate. So he says, that's why we're somewhat ignorant when we grieve and mourn over a grave, when he says, really, we probably should be doing that over a cradle. But we know better today that the incarnating spirit, it's an opportunity. They're coming back to evolve, and we need to help them, not grieve or walk around, crying and pitying them that they've been reincarnated. So he says, so the spirit is drawn, it's being connected. There's this irresistible force that's being directed toward the area where it's going to best reincarnate, progress. And then he says what starts to happen is there's something called molecular assimilation. So this is the spirit, the perispirit working. It's the process to procreate a body. So there's the gradual coming together by a slow integration of material molecules by the perispirit. So the perispirit, it's reducing and condensing through this process of the molecule slowly coming together. And it says that the perispirit, as we know, it's a fluidic substance. It provides the elastic fluidic mold that gives shape to matter. So it creates a covering for itself, the human body. And he compares this to nature. And when we see the caterpillar in its chrysalis, the covering, it's deeply embedded within this chrysalis. And this is the same as our spirit. It's deeply embedded within the body, the physical body, the perispirit. So he compares it to nature in that way. And then, so the perispirit provides this mold, and then the physical body is formed through this slow gradual integration of the material molecules. And we know it's molecule by molecule. And just when we discarnate, it has to detach molecule by molecule. So he reminds us that the physical body displays the quality and the blemishes of the perispirit. So we need to understand this does not mean just the physical body itself, because he tells us it's not just physical imperfections. So yes, it's true, people may come with handicaps and actual disfigurations of their body, but there can also be this more of a mental, psychological, emotional, where people or the spirit is deprived of its knowledge and talents. Now, this is not imposed. This is the spirit agreeing to reincarnate, and for its opportunity for it to progress, it sees different ways that it may impose upon its own spirit in order for it to progress. Okay, so for example, somebody who's mentally impaired, the spirit may not be mentally impaired. That might be a highly educated person, but they choose to have that faculty or talent kind of shut off, so to speak, so they can progress in the area, whatever they may need. That maybe they abused their intelligence in a past life, or they need to not be able to use their intelligence to progress in the way they need to. So he reminds us that we should not really be pitying people who have handicaps, that we should revere them, because it's a sign of possibly a courageous spirit that opted to take on these limitations for this reincarnation so they can progress. We really can't judge. We don't know. But just to say, oh, those poor people, or, poor them, or I'm so much better than that. No, we don't know. We really don't know the history of the spirit itself. But he does remind us that even though a spirit may limit themselves from their talents or their knowledge, that all these gifts, talents, knowledge are regained after death. So they're not really lost. They're just temporarily inaccessible to the spirit so that they can progress in that particular life. So the other thing we should know is that when we're going through this molecular assimilation, the spirit and the perispirit is forming the covering, procreating the new body, that during this process, the spirit is overcome by confusion. There's lethargy. There's our memory fails, the conscience sleeps, and the faculties become clouded. So thank God, right? I mean, it's an experience that it is a blessing. God is merciful that we have this forgetfulness, that we don't have this memory. And Léon Denis reminds us that the conditions of a person's reincarnation is determined by its past. So again, this is based on laws, the law of affinity, the law of cause and effect, and also the laws of justice. And he tells us that inferior spirits, when they reincarnate, oftentimes it's automatic. And they're kind of left to fate, so to speak. And it makes sense, right? Because as we advance and we have more knowledge, we have more free will, we have more choices, okay? So he says, with an advanced spirit, we can seek inspiration, we can use our spiritual guides, and we actually develop a reincarnatory plan. So we have something in place, and we commit to this, and we develop some resolve that we're going to achieve it. And also, we don't just reincarnate automatically. We can make sure that we've connected with spiritual guides and know that we're going to be helped to carry out this plan. So again, it's free will, our choice in accelerating our own progress. Okay, so there's not anything imposed upon us. It's up to the spirit. And he reminds us that faults committed in the flesh need to be atoned in the flesh. So even though we go to the spiritual realm and we no longer have the dense material of the body, and we better recognize our faults and we better understand, we need to come back still to atone in the corporeal life. That it's not enough to know it in the spiritual realm. We need to repair and feel it in the corporeal life, to pretty much imprint it on our spirit and also to expunge it from our spirit. So Léon Denis says that earth is the real purgatory. So in the Catholic faith, they teach that, if you have sins, you have to go to purgatory. You can't go to heaven, or not necessarily hell. You go to purgatory and you pay off these sins before you can go to heaven. And so in essence, it was true what they said, but purgatory is earth, here on earth. And this is the place where we advance ourselves and make reparations for our wrongs. So he even tells us, okay, so we're going to reincarnate, and here's what you need to do. Just resign yourselves and patiently endure our trials that wash the faults away and prepare us for a better future. And so what we know about resign, right? Resign is consent of the heart, it's acceptance without rebelliousness. And we know about patience, that it's a patience of knowing how to wait through our heart with love, not about, oh, let me endure this, I got to put up with this. No, it's a wise patience that we know it's the right thing to do. And he also warns us, he says, be aware of acquiring more debt with future consequences. So it's not that we're guaranteed that we're going to come back here and do everything perfectly. No, we can actually acquire more debt. So he says that we will not get wise and we will not find self-approval through titles and wealth. Nope, he says we need to answer to our own conscience and nature, the laws, through work, charity, right doing, study, meditation, and self-examination. So that is our little discussion on reincarnation, quite a bit, right? And there can be so much more. But it gives us an idea and reminds us of why we were here, why we are here, where we're going, where we came from. And that God is merciful, giving us always one more opportunity. So now, taking this lesson with us into our prayer, let us close our eyes and center ourselves, inhabit our bodies as we pray to Mother, Father, God. When we begin this prayer with a grateful heart that we are so loved and blessed with the sacredness of life, and yet another opportunity to improve ourselves, to help others around us, and to help this planet in its transition toward a world of regeneration. It is not by mistake that we are here at this time. Let us pause, looking deep within our heart of that commitment that we made prior to our reincarnation. And we ask for inspiration, guidance, and protection from our mentors in helping us to continue fulfilling the mission that we agreed to. We take a moment to pause and remembering those brothers and sisters that are currently facing harsh trials, confusion, uncertainties, and pain, whether it be physical or mental suffering. Let us send waves of hope and encouragement that they may feel your love, that their hearts may soften, and they may receive consolation. Heavenly Creator, we sing praises and worship in your name. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be. We also thank the mentors and all the staff of Kardec Radio for their ongoing work to enable this platform that we can continue to study, learn, and nourish our souls 24/7. And with a blessing, protection, and deep respect, we humbly ask permission to close this prayer session. And so be it. Okay, hello, Tony. Glad you were listening. And Abby, and Veronica, and Ronaldo, and John De Rosa. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for praying with me this evening. It's always feels so good to pray with other people. I am so grateful to be a part of your family. Thank you so much. And God willing, let's meet again next Sunday, same time, 6 p.m. And be sure to check out many of the Kardec radio programs during the week. I'm sure you all do. Wonderful programs, something for everyone. God bless. Have a good week. Stay healthy.